Okay, hello guys. This is a weekly recap and also like some sort of an analysis for the coming week, right? So last week or this week and the weekend that's ending today has really been an eventful week. Yeah. So lots of analysis we had done earlier that basically started to move in the direction we had anticipated, right? The number one of them, or the predominant one, is the breakout we've anticipated on the dollar index. So the dollar index breakout, the moves that happened this week totally was because of the dollar index. The moves that happened this week was primarily because of the dollar index, the movement we expected on the dollar index, right? So that's what we saw happening. And once that happened, once the breakout of the dollar index happened from this area here, last weekend, this was where we were. This hadn't happened. This breakout we see now had not happened. We're like, okay, we're expecting to see that breakout and the reason why we're expecting to see that breakout is because we expect price to continue to go all the way up to this area here before it's from this area here, we expect price to start coming down very significantly. Right, so we expected this breakout to happen, and it happened. And so far, we're expecting that price is going to move all the way to this top right here. Then from there, we will be looking for a significant sell coming downwards, right? Yeah, so that happened this week. And then, of course, this was a major driver. This dollar index breakout, was sorry, what's this? The Zoom account is being signed in. All right, so that's what we saw coming into last week. We saw that we expected that breakout and eventually happened, right? Okay, so now once that happened, the breakout on the dollar index happened. Of course, we expected that we will see a huge buy on USD CHF. This huge buy happened from here, just around this area now. This was around where the buy started on this was around where the buy started on USD CHF. Price just started going crazy from there, went crazy from there, right? So all of this happened this week. We had trades here and we took profit and all of that, right? So also on the Euro USD, we expected once the breakout on the dollar index happened, like we talked about, we saw this movement here, this move right here. We saw it come down, price literally started coming down and all that, came down significantly and got to where it is right now, right? So yeah. So question is, what is happening next? What's happening next? Even this move we see on gold, right? You see this move here on gold. So what I'm saying is that what drove the market this week has been that breakout on the dollar index that we saw. That dollar index breakout was actually what we saw this week, was what drove the movement that we saw in the market this week. All right. So now going forward, what are we looking to see? What's happening right now? Okay. First of all, we always will start with the economic event. We'll look at the economic event. Then we will look at the economic event. Then we'll look at the dollar index. Then before we're looking into other pairs that we're likely to trade. So let's see what's going on. What's going on with the dollar, with the economic calendar? Last week on the economic calendar, which is this week basically. Yeah, so we saw basically CPI. We saw CPI for Canada. CPI is inflation data for Canada. We discussed before that inflation data is very important because for about 2 years now, so the whole world has been grappling with inflation. So, and that inflation is has affected a lot of the globe, the economies around the globe. And then it's basically driven the response that we've seen by central banks. And by response, I mean the interest rate hikes that we've been seeing around the world for a long time. Basically, all economies, both major economies and minor economies, have been increasing interest rates, and also it's been a narrative in the world, in economies, with the economies of the world around for the past 2 years. Central bank governors here and there talking about interest rates and all of that, right? So why is that? The reason for that is because interest rate hike is how you control inflation. That is, the central banks of countries are tasked with the responsibility of controlling inflation whenever inflation is high for whatever reason, right? There are different types of inflation, but whatever causes the inflation, the central bank governors are taxed. Central banks are taxed with the responsibility of curtailing inflation, bringing inflation down, because inflation is not good for anybody. Inflation increases price, makes life unstable. Because if you buy something today and you can't expect to buy the same thing for the same price in a few months, in 2 months, in 3 months, sometimes even within a month, it doesn't help people to make plans. It doesn't help the economy. It doesn't help businesses, right? It doesn't help even those that lend banks that lend money. It doesn't help anybody. So it makes the economy worse off. It makes everybody worse off. Right, so that's why inflation has been something that we've been watching. There's been a strong narrative in the economic space for the past probably 2 years or so, right? So is this something we're watching? Because the whole scenario is not done yet, right? So anytime we see inflation data, which is CPI data, is always something we want to keep our eyes on and say, okay, what's that number going to be? What's that event going to be? How is it going to affect that currency? We know, because we know it will affect the currency. So yeah, this whole thing is still, it started about 2021, spilled through, was a strong, a strong talking point throughout last year, 2023. Starting in 2022, sorry, strong talking point to 2023. And right now, there are a whole lot of things going on that still has to do with inflation and interest rates all through 2024, right? So that's why we keep our eyes on inflation. Just a bit of an explanation why we keep our eyes on inflation, right? So we had inflation for the Canadian economy. Please mute yourself. So we had inflation data for the Canadian economy on Tuesday. So we see that inflation in Canada is somewhere around 3.6%. Then on Wednesday we had inflation data for the UK, and then that was 4.0%. Then on unemployed, we had employment data for Australia. That was negative. All of these were the things that moved and drove the market this week, right? So now look at this. Unemployment claims for the US dollar. This came out on Thursday. This was a positive for the dollar. So this number has to do with the number of people, the number of people who filed for unemployment, which means they lost their jobs and they decided to go for unemployment insurance. They have unemployment insurance, and then they decide to file for a claim, which means that they want to collect, they want to draw from their unemployment insurance to take care of bills, take care of their lives, since they are currently out of a job. So whenever that number is very high, it is not a good thing. It's telling you that more people lost their jobs. Whenever this number is small, which is last week, this data is a weekly data. For last week, the data was 203,000. For this week, did you see the data came down? The number came down to 187, which means it was less this week than it was last week. So that's a positive. That's the reason why you're seeing it in green. It's green because it's a positive number, right? So yeah. And then, so that was really great. Also, we saw consumer confidence. Consumer confidence numbers also measures how confident the consumer is in the US to spend. This is a US data. So to spend, the more the consumer spends, the more the economy booms, right? So that's the way the economy works. The US economy is powered 70% by the consumer, because the US consumer is very wealthy, right? The US consumer is probably the most wealthy consumer in the world. So they spend a lot of money. They also have a lot of credit, have access to a lot of credit, so they're able to spend. So this number here is very good, and is a strong number as well, right? So all of those are things we're expecting to still fuel the rise of the dollar index in the next few maybe in the next week or so, right? But we might see it drop first. Then also we see Great Britain, and the data here has to do with retail sales was negative. So this is what we saw last week. Let's just quickly jump to what we saw, what's going to happen this week. So for this week, on Monday, we have nothing. On Tuesday, we have monetary policy for Japan, right? Japan this week, this is what we're expecting. So monetary policy has to do with interest rates and all that. It's what controls the market, the economy, basically, right? So Japan has a unique situation with interest rate that I'm not going to go into here, but we are still going to keep our eyes on this particular data. All right. So this is on Tuesday. This is going to be early in the morning. Data from Canada usually comes out GMT +1 Nigerian time usually comes out somewhere around early in the morning, maybe 12 midnight to 1 a.m. thereabouts. So the time specifically is not here, but it's usually going to be around that time. It's usually very early in the morning, like between 12 midnight and about 1 a.m. or so, right? Yeah, because that's when it is day in Japan, though we are asleep here in Africa. So all of that is what we're seeing. Then also we're seeing CPI data for New Zealand, right? CPI data for New Zealand, that's something we're going to keep our eyes on. And on Wednesday, we have all of these manufacturing indices and all that. We'll also watch those. Let's look at this. Then we have interest rate data for Canada. Right? So that's something we'll keep our eye on. This is what I talked about, interest rates, right? So we'll delve deeper into this by next week. We just want to go through and see what we're expecting. Then also on Thursday, we have interest rate data again for the Eurozone. So we call this the main refinance rate. So we will explain this a little bit more by Monday, right? A bit deeper on Monday. Then unemployment claims we're expecting next week. So this is all what we're expecting next week. Then we'll have core PCE. Core PCE is also, we'll call it consumer personal consumption expenditure, is something that has to do with inflation. So yeah, there are some of the things we expect next week. We have a few events that will that have potential to move the market next week, but we'll explain them a bit further on Monday. Okay, so let's look at the chart now and see what we have, what we expect to see happening, right? So the way the market moves, right? The way the market moves, the market usually moves by impulse. So it does this, we call this an impulse. When price moves in a particular direction significantly, maybe a couple of candles in the same direction, you see it go up like that, that's what we call an impulse. Then you see something like this, we call this a correction. Then we call this, then we'll have what we call a continuation. So this is how the market moves. So the market doesn't move in a straight line. When the market moves up, we expect the market to correct and then continue. If the market moves down, we expect the market to correct and continue, right? So this is something we see, this is how the market works, right? So now let's see, how is that playing out for the dollar index right now? So the dollar index broke out last week, broke out heavily last week. And then with that breakout, we're expecting that price is going to correct. Now, there are two areas here we expect price to get to, right? We expect price to get to this point. We expect price to get to this point here. This point here, that's one area, that's a support area there, because price is correcting. Currently, you can see it looks as if dollar index is selling. That's a correction. That's a correction we're talking about, right? So that's something we are seeing right now. So this is the first place we expect price to get to. This is the first place we expect price to get to, right here, right? Now, if price breaks out of here, which I suspect it might break out of here, if it breaks out of here, we expect that it will come to this area here. This area here will be the next one. Why is this? Why do we target this area? This is what we call the 50% Fibonacci. We call it the 50% Fibonacci. Now, there's a tool called Fibonacci. It's a very good tool when it comes to analyzing how far a retracement goes. You know, so just like I said, we have an impulse, a correction, a continuation. So that correction, we call it a pullback, we call it a retracement, right? Now, this tool helps you to understand how far a retracement might come. How far a retracement might come before a continuation resumes, right? So I'm expecting price to probably get here first and respect that area. This is a support area, right? Because what we are seeing now is that correction. That correction is what we are seeing now. And then if he breaks out of here, I'm expecting to get either to this point or this point. So the way the market works most of the time is that this correction usually gets to the 25, to the 50 or 61%, right? So when I say 50, look at this, this is 0.5%, or this is 0.618%. So this is also 50%. This is 0.5. 0.5 is 50%. 0.618 is 61.8%, right? So this is where I expect that price is going to pull back to somewhere around here or here. But then there is something that I did not add to the Fibonacci that is on the Fibonacci too, that also shows that this is a good area here. So it's possible that price will get here and bounce off from here. I will also be watching for that area, right? But basically what we are seeing is a retracement. And then once that retracement is done, we expect price to continue. We expect a continuation. Okay, now, and the continuation, like we said in the previous sessions that we had, is that we are expecting this continuation to take us from somewhere around here, you know, all the way to this top here. So that's what we're expecting. We're expecting price to go to this whole area. It could be here, it could be here, or it could be here. So we never can know exactly where price is going to get to, but we know it's going to go up. And once it gets to this area here, what we are going to be waiting for then is we are going to be waiting for reversal signal, a reversal signal that's telling us that, oh, price has hit the area where we expect it to hit. Now we're expecting it to come down. We're expecting it to start selling. We're expecting it to come down, right? So this is what we're seeing right here, and we're expecting that price is going to, you know, pull back a little, pull back or retrace before starts buying again. So now with this retracement we are seeing here, what are we therefore seeing on currency pairs? You know, so the dollar index is a pair that you can trade. It's a currency index that you can trade in isolation, or is a currency index that you can use to monitor what is going to happen with other currencies and then trade with other currencies or trade on other currencies, right? Let's see the effect. This current retracement we are seeing on dollar index now, let's see what effect it has on other pairs. Let's start with USD CHF. So CHF has been buying for a very long time. Can you see? Well, not a very long time. It's still since it's been since late December. It's been buying, and then when we go on a higher time frame, we can see that CHF has gotten to a very strong inflection point. You know, so this inflection point here, you can see it is a resistance level, and the CHF has been selling off from there. It's currently selling off from there right now, right? So that's what we're seeing now. Now, with the dollar currently currently dropping now, we expect this CHF to still keep selling. Now, the projections we have for CHF is that CHF is going to come all the way down. USD CHF here. This is the projection we have. And you see, I drew this before. This is what I'm expecting to happen. I'm expecting price to get to that area and then start to sell. I did this, I think that was last week or so. So I'm expecting price to start selling very heavily on CHF. But then the best way that's going to happen is that if that coincides with when the dollar index starts to fall, the dollar index starts to come down now, then and it coincides with this, then that's going to be a good one. Now, why is that? Because when you look at CHF, the CHF pair now, look at the CHF pair. Sorry, I'm trying to shift this. So if you look at this USD CHF pair now, you'll see that USD is the base currency, which means USD is the first currency here. Is the base currency, right? Now, if USD is the base currency, it means that this pair is likely to correlate in the direction of the dollar. So which means that if the dollar is buying, CHF is likely going to be buying too. Now, this correlation is not 100%. Doesn't mean that once dollar takes one leg, CHF takes the same leg. No, it just mirrors. It's like a mirror. It just mirrors in terms of direction, in terms of trend, right? It doesn't mirror it perfectly, but it just mirrors it in terms of direction. So if we are seeing dollar index selling, you will see CHF, USD CHF selling a bit like that. You know, just following the direction. The same thing happens for USD JPY. Same thing happens for USD JPY because USD JPY also has USD as the first currency, which is as base currency. So if you are seeing a sell, on the dollar index, you will be seeing a sell on CHF as well, very likely. right? Yeah, so that's what we are currently seeing now. This sell we are seeing on dollar index is the reason why we see now that CHF is already selling, but CHF already is ready to sell. So like I said, I'm expecting to fall. Now, it doesn't mean that this fall is going to happen all at once. No, it doesn't happen that way. Price may come back here again, come back. It may hover around this place for a little while. It might even act as if it's going to break out of here and then come back. So that's why I expect it to sell from here doesn't mean it's going to definitely start selling straight all the way down. It doesn't work that way, right? If the dollar index starts to push up again, now you'll see that CHF will go up again. Go up, come down, go up, come down. Eventually, it will keep hovering around that area. Like I said, it may even go above this area for a bit, but eventually it's going to come back, right? Because it wants to be able to follow the dollar index on its way down. Right, so now what do we see? What's the options? What are the trades we see here going into next week? First of all, let's look at this. What trades are we looking at here? Okay. So right now, what we're going to be looking for here is price to break out of here. Now, in my opinion, I do not even think that price is likely going to break out of here yet. Now, if price breaks out of here, it may not eventually sell yet. I personally think that price is not ready to sell yet, right? It's not ready to sell yet. So if price hits this point, this is what I'll be looking at doing for this particular trade. This is what I'll be looking at doing for this particular trade. So I'll be expecting it to, if it hits this point, I'm expecting it to buy. I'm expecting to buy back to this top here for about 30 pips, right? For about 30 pips. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting to hit this bottom here, buy and go up again. Now, when that happens, it still correlates with what we are expecting on the dollar index. Can you see the dollar index? This is a strong support level now we're expecting on the dollar index. The dollar index is heading towards this point. Once it hits this point, it is likely to bounce and start going up. Even though we expect it to come here, we don't know that for sure yet. We are going to have to see price break out of here. If price breaks this point, then we'll know that price is coming here. But for the moment, I don't see it breaking down that point at this moment, right? So price may get here and start going up. And if that happens, we will see that USD CHF is likely going to hit this point and then start going up again. Remember, we said that we are expecting USD CHF to sell very heavily down, right? Yeah, but then I'm not banking on that happening at the moment. I will be expecting it to happen when the dollar index eventually starts its major sell-off. You know, this major sell-off is what I expect to happen when price heads to this area here. All right. Yeah. So for me, I would expect that price will come here to this point on CHF, gets to this point, you know, and then buy from here. Maybe it won't go to 30 pips. It should go for somewhere about 22 pips. So this will be a trade I'll be looking out for next week. We won't give the parameters now because we can't even enter the trade yet. So we're just marking them up. By Monday, we'll be talking about the parameters of our entry, exactly how exactly we're going to enter the trade, right? So that's the move I will be seeing. This like 20 pips target I'm seeing on that one yet. That's for USD CHF, right? So yeah. Now for USD CHF to break this point and start coming down, the next support I'll be targeting will be somewhere around here. Let me take this off. The next support I'll be targeting on CHF is going to be somewhere around here. Somewhere around here is my target on CHF. But that will mean that will only happen when the dollar index breaks out of here. If the dollar index breaks here and starts coming to this point, exactly, I will also expect the CHF to break this point and start coming here. So this will be a potential trade too when this area is broken. When this area breaks, for me now, based on what I see on the dollar index, I don't think this area is going to break as yet, right? But at the time that it eventually breaks, what I'll be expecting to see is price doing this breakout of here, right? pull back like this, and then start to sell all the way to this point. So once it gets here, I'm expecting that once price gets here, price will very likely buy again to this top. Very likely buy again to that top before it sells again, before it sells heavily. So this is how the market works. So we are expecting that this USD CAD is going to sell very massively, right? But then it will not do that at once. It will not do that in one straight line. It does not work that way. If it was working that way, then everybody that started trading would be multi-millionaires and billionaires. That's why we do analysis. So you could just place one trade and walk away, come back next year, and then you have made all the money that you want to make in your life, right? But the market doesn't work that way, right? That's the reason why it can be selling today, is buying tomorrow. Our ability to be able to look at what's happening in the charts is what gives us the confidence to be able to make money all the time in the market, right? Yeah, so that's for USD CHF. Then Euro USD, let's look at what's happening with Euro USD. Okay. Okay. Euro USD right here. So for Euro USD now, what we are seeing is what we are seeing here is that we are seeing a support level here too. We're seeing a support level here too. Now, the Euro USD is one pair that has an opposite relationship with the dollar index. So the dollar index when the dollar index is buying, Euro USD will be selling. When Euro USD buys, dollar index sells. It's just the opposite relationship that they have, right? That's the opposite relationship that they have. So in this case now, you see that dollar index is currently selling, but Euro USD is currently buying, right? Is doing almost the same thing, but in the opposite direction. So now I'm expecting a sell here. I'm expecting price to start to sell from here. I'm expecting price to sell from here, right? Because the dollar index is also expected to buy from here. Okay. But then if the dollar index breaks out of this area, the dollar index breaks this point. Okay, remember we said that we're expecting dollar index to still come here. But if the dollar index breaks here, then we'll be expecting Euro USD to also break out of this area. And when that happens, we'll be expecting Euro USD to come to somewhere around here. Somewhere around here. Somewhere around here will be where we will be targeting the Euro USD to come to. Somewhere around here. And then when it gets there, then it will start to most likely, it will start to sell from here. So we're expecting a sell from here or a sell from here. Or a sell from here. Or a sell from here on the dollar index, on the Euro USD, sorry, all based on what the dollar index does, right? So if we see, first of all, this is a trade we can target here first. This is a trade we can target here first. But this one, we are going to put our stop loss at very, very thin levels, very, very tight, just in case it breaks out. And then we'll be looking to probably get some 30 pips here. 30 pips targets is what I'll be targeting here. Our stop loss there will be around about 7.5 pips, right? That's quite tiny. So if it breaks out, then of course, I know already I'm going to just wait for price to get here, get to this area, and then that will coincide with the dollar index hitting these points. Once dollar index hits this point here, this area, then that's my signal that Euro USD is about to start selling. That's my signal. Because by the time that happens, Euro USD also would have gotten to this point, somewhere around here, and then that would be my signal to start to sell, right? But we're going to see this, we'll see this again by Monday, because by the time the market will open on Sunday night, by Monday morning, some movements would have happened, because right now we can see the dollar index is quite close to this support area. It's quite close to this support area. Then Euro USD is also quite close to this resistance area here. So by Monday morning, we would have seen the moves that this does, because price would have at least gotten to this point by then. Then we will see the moves that happen, that does, right? Before we expect to see what happens next. All right, so this is what I'll be expecting to see happen on the Euro USD first. If this doesn't happen and it breaks out of here, then of course it comes to this point, then it can sell from there. Yep. Okay, so what do we have on gold? Let's look at gold. What do we have on gold? Okay. All right. So the movement we're expecting on gold right now, for me, I'm expecting gold to buy to this area before selling again. This is my expectation. Okay. This is my expectation. This is my expectation on gold. I'm expecting gold to do this. Now, before gold does that, gold might actually first of all do this. Gold might actually first of all sell to this point right here. But so look at this. Look at this, guys. When it comes to the movement on gold, when it comes to the movement on gold, sorry, when it comes to the movement on gold, it also mirrors the dollar index in a very to a very large extent. It mirrors the dollar index to a very large extent too. How does it mirror it? It mirrors it in the opposite direction. It mirrors it in the opposite direction. It means that when the dollar index is selling, gold will be buying. When the dollar index is selling, gold will be buying. So if we're expecting the dollar index to break out and start coming down, that means we are expecting gold to move up. We're expecting gold to move up, right? So, but here, now it's, we're expecting gold to move up. So we'll see what happens here. This is my anticipation. I'm expecting that price will push down to this point for a buy and then buy again. Now, this buy has to correspond with a sell in the dollar index, which means dollar index has to break out of this area. If dollar index doesn't break out of this area, I will not confidently enter this buy on gold. I will not enter buy on gold because dollar index has to be selling significantly for me to enter this buy on gold now, right? So I'm not going to enter that buy on gold at this time. This is something that we're going to investigate again. We're going to analyze this again on Monday and look at where our entry is going to be. And why is that? We want to see some movements happen. We want to see price make a move. We want to see what price does around this area here, this dollar index area. We want to see what price does here before we decide what we are going to trade on this gold. If price doesn't break this place, if price reaches this place and starts buying, then that means gold is going to sell. That means gold is going to sell. That's just it. It means that gold might get to this point. It means that gold might get to this point, like this area here. So if dollar index, watch this now. If dollar index hits this point and start buying, that means gold is going to definitely come to this resistance area. Can you see this is a resistance area? And then gold will start to sell from here as well. Then it's going to start coming down. So we'll see price move to this point and then start selling. So we'll see this happen. So we'll see price do this, get to this point, and then it will start to sell. That is what we're going to experience as long as the dollar index does not break this point. So that's why I said by Monday morning, we will see what the dollar index does around here. This will give us a signal as to what our direction is going to be in the market, what trades we are going to take. If dollar index hits this point and starts buying, then we are going to be expecting CHF to hit this area and buy. Then we are going to expect the Euro USD to hit this area and sell. Then we are going to expect gold to hit this resistance area and sell. All right. So this we will revisit several of these again on Monday morning, so we can know exactly where our sign is going to be. Right. So also we're expecting price to do something here on the on USD on this USD JPY. So USD JPY price is likely to come here. I did this analysis yesterday and I was expecting price to come here before it starts to buy. Eventually it didn't come here. It started buying from here, right? It starts buying from this area here and started going up. But now I don't think price is going to come here again, right? So probably we might see price somewhere around here, around this point here. On this is USD CHF. We might see price come to this point here, or it may still not even get here, right? So USD CHF is something, and USD JPY, sorry, is something that we're going to look at again on Monday to see what is the price action doing so that we can get some very good clarity as to where it's going. For now, there isn't much clarity on USD JPY here, right? So what else do we have? Let's see, what do we have anything on BTC? BTC. Last week we did an analysis on BTC that was really, really sweet. Okay, so BTC here right now, BTC, like we said, is still on the upward trajectory. It's still bullish. It's still a bullish market, irrespective of all the things that has happened recently. You know, which you can see how it sold off from the 48,000 level. BTC is very volatile. See, BTC got to 49,000. And from there now it has fallen all the way to 41,000, almost 40,000, right? So that's the way it is. Now you can see there is a support area here that BTC has been hitting. This is a support area here that BTC has been hitting that, and then it's not able to break it. So we're expecting it to buy from here. So let's see. What do we have? Okay, let's see what do we have where we might be entering this BTC trade. So this is where I'll be looking to get into BTC trades. Okay, so this is where I'll be looking to get into a trade on Bitcoin, BTC, and then, so I'll be expecting price to do this. I'll be expecting price to come here, come to this point, somewhere here, and then buy again. Buy from here. Buy from here. And then very likely buy all the way back to this area here. So this is my entry on BTC now. I'm expecting it to buy. So here will be my entry. My stop loss will be below this point. We did an analysis on BTC last week, and by Monday, it had played out very well. So we'll put our stop loss below here. Stop loss below here. Our take profit is going to be all the way top all the way up here. Right now, remember, guys, price doesn't move in a straight line. That we're doing this analysis does not mean that this is just going to happen all at once. Price moves very fast in BTC, so it could happen. It's possible it could happen, but then it doesn't mean it could happen all at once. It could mean that price can still hover, go up, come down, go up, come down, go up, come down. But what we are targeting is where price is going, the direction price is moving in, right? So most of the time, you just need to be someone who can hold a trade. If you can hold a trade, then of course you will reap all the benefits of it. If you can't hold a trade, of course, you also take the profit that you can take. There's nothing wrong. You can be a short-term trader, you can be a long-term trader. It really doesn't matter which one you are. It just matters that you are able to be consistent with whatever you are, right? So, but this is the direction, this is the movement I see on BTC. This may happen at once. It may happen just the way you see this sell happen now, very heavy. You can see a heavy buy too. Yeah. You know, but then I don't really bank on heavy buys like that. It could happen, it might still not happen, but what I'm trying to get, you know, to stay profitable is to understand the direction the market is going. Once I get the direction the market is going, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'll just stay there and then expect that to gradually play out, Okay, so GBP JPY is another one I should look at. Okay. Okay, so GBP JPY too is one pair also that works with the that works in opposite relationship with the dollar index, right? And the reason for that is because the USD is on the right hand side, which means is a quote currency. USD is a quote currency. All right, so now when dollar is buying, when dollar index is buying, we expect GBP to sell, right? So now the dollar index is buying, the dollar index is selling currently. Dollar index is selling currently, and we're expecting to get here. So, of course, that's why you can see that GBP USD, that's why you can see GBP USD is buying, right? So how far can it buy? How far will the buy likely to last, right? How far is the buy likely to last? So this is a trend line here I just drew a while ago, just before I came on this call. Now, the GBP USD works very well with trend lines, right? very well with trend line. So here's what I expect. I expect price to hit this trend line somewhere here, hit this trend line somewhere here, and then I expect price to hit this trend line somewhere here, and then price is gonna sell. That's my expectation. I expect price to hit this point and price is going to sell. This is my expectation on GBP USD. Now, that is still contingent on a reversal when price gets here for the dollar index. When price gets here on the dollar index and does not break, right, we will enter this trade for a sell. Okay, so that's the reason why if we enter a trade here, we are going to enter the trade and the trade starts coming down, we are going to break even. Now, if you know what break even is, or you don't know what break even is a trade management method that is used to remove the risk on a trade. So you enter a trade typically with a risk, right? You enter a trade and then you have your stop loss, you have your take profits and all that, right? Now, when a trade is in profit, you now go to your trade, you adjust the trade and then change your stop loss value to your entry price. You change your stop loss value to your entry price. You change your stop loss value to your entry price, and then you are able to take away the risk on that trade. You're able to take away the risk on that trade, right? So that's the way this is. That's the way I would do this, because since I'm expecting that there might be a breakout, so I'm still going to be careful with that. Excuse me, guys. Also, I'm sorry, guys. So yeah, so when price gets here, and trade is in profit, I'll expect to break even on that trade. And so just in case price breaks out, and just in case USD, the dollar index breaks this area, just in case USD, the dollar index breaks this area and starts coming down, right? Yeah, so that's what I'll do. I'll enter that trade, but I'll take profit. I would break even and allow the trade to keep running. All right. So I think this is what we have for today. What we're going to do is that we're going to have this posted. Please watch it. This is going to be very beneficial for next week's trading. On Monday, we'll continue. We'll look at the market again, and then we'll see where our definite entries and what has happened, what breakouts we've seen on dollar index and so on and so forth. That will give us even more clarity by Monday. All right? Yeah. So do we have a question?